Hi, everybody. This is Barbara Boyd, and this is your Monday Brief. It is Monday, February 17th, President's Day, a time when we celebrate our great ones, empowered by the unique Article 2 of our Constitution, and one in which we thank the Lord for giving us a man in that great tradition of Washington, Lincoln, McKinley, to wit, Donald Trump. And like his predecessors, he is in a pitched battle with the modern financial empire on behalf of Western civilization and the American people. I've been thinking about the reference many make to what's happening now throughout the world. It is a radical life-saving surgery, cutting out the cancer which has metastasized ever since the end of World War II and has almost killed us. If you are one of the one world cult members who just love the so-called British rules-based order, which infected us, courtesy of the British Empire and such agents as George Soros and the Frankfurt School's monster social scientists, you'll think the surgery is being conducted by a crude, ruthless social misfit, the type of person who does school shootings, which is the character you have painted, the cartoon character of both Donald Trump and Elon Musk, simply because they are a whole hell of a lot smarter than you are. They have ideas outside the way you think, math, science, engineering, and similar esoteric subjects, or as Trump says, simple common sense. If you are among the majority of the American people watching this and cheering the apparent end of forever purposeless wars and killing, shrinkage and repurposing of the bloated federal government, and the effort to rebirth our manufacturing, scientific, and industrial power, you think the surgeon and his algorithms are elegant, competent, just what is needed. But I need to remind you, the operating room is not secure yet. It's in a war zone. And like all life-saving surgery, it won't work unless we have a clear vision of the plan for recovery, which will be a very rough recovery. Now, Woolworths gave a terrific class over the weekend about a new Yalta-type arrangement to end all the current wars and put the modern British financial empire out of business permanently. In it, he traced the significant anatomy of this post-World War II cancer and what could be accomplished if China, Russia, India, and the United States got together as sovereign nation states with all their different cultures and established an agreement to develop the entire world into prosperity and creative discovery. I think this is the direction which Donald Trump really wants to take us. Right now, we're at a stage where the one-worlders keep trying to find ways to run into the operating room, screaming and yelling to abort the surgery, which, of course, will finally kill the patient if it doesn't proceed. Their latest resort here in the United States is to the courts. As they have done throughout this battle, their attack will end up sacrificing some of their key forces. The lawfare judges who grew up and were educated in the one world culture at law schools, which preach the entire woke curriculum as gospel. In fact, the law schools were where the woke curriculum and culture was born. These selected judges are now acting like legal suicide bombers, going far outside their constitutional roles to declare their allegiance to the order we are overturning, their allegiance to the cancer. So too are certain Republican rhinos over at the National Review who keep attacking Trump and Musk. These cases will soon reach the Supreme Court, possibly as early as this week, where a highly significant battle would take place about the scope of presidential power. We believe this court will reach the right result. The president can conduct an audit of the federal government to discover waste, inefficiency, and fraud. He can fire significant government actors who engage in sabotage of his policies. An audit, after all, is all that Musk is doing, which has provoked such screaming, largely because of the outlandish things he has found. The corrupt money laundering machine, which benefits all the people who are doing the most screaming, doing the most to promote the cancer, and getting themselves filthy rich at our expense in the meantime. In the world as a whole, Europe's oligarchs, led by the British, are mobilizing to continue the Ukraine war and the chaos in the Middle East. There will be a so-called emergency meeting of Europe's political figureheads convened by Emmanuel Macron of France today to discuss the future of the Ukraine war, no matter what Trump is moving right now to do to end it. The British say they will put boots on the ground in Ukraine to continue the war, based on their treaty entered into to, quote, Trump-proof the Ukraine war and act against Trump's vow to end the slaughter. The British and Ukrainians literally entered into a 100-year treaty for war with Russia. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Trump's personal friend and emissary, Steve Witkoff, will go to Saudi Arabia this week to start direct talks with the Russians and hopefully to create the conditions for an immediate summit there between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. At the same time, Witkoff, who has become a very busy man because he's reporting directly to the president, is shepherding the second phase of the ceasefire in the Middle East, with Netanyahu and Hamas both trying desperately to find ways to sabotage it. As Trump said after he got the Abraham Accords done in its initial phase, Bibi does not really want peace. He wants a war with Iran, most of all, which Trump has not yet acceded to. In that regard, there is a battle taking place in the background over the nomination of Eldridge Colby, the grandson of Bill Colby of the CIA, to head the Pentagon Office of Policy Planning. Neocons in Congress, like Tom Cotton, view him as, quote, soft on Iran, meaning he does not want to bomb them into oblivion and reach a deal, as Trump does, with them instead. Here in the United States, we face several critical battles just ahead, which will be even more challenging than the ones we have waged already. Our deficit, created largely through the 2008 financial bailout and Joe Biden's egregious Green New Deals, is accumulating more interest now every year than the defense budget. Unless we deal with it by cutting overhead and other unnecessary expenses and finding new sources of revenue, in my view, by taxing those who hold inordinate wealth in addition to tariffs, we face, like most nations who adopted the one world order, a looming financial catastrophe. We have to cabin the power of the Federal Reserve and return the power over our finances to the Congress and the President as the Constitution dictates, rather than having a one world or central bank aligned against us with the rest of the world's central banks. That gets us back our financial sovereignty. We have to take on the corporate concentrations of wealth and power and break them up, whether they are the big pharma, big ag, and big healthcare trusts, or the defense industrial complex, or big tech. While many attack the military industrial complex, the biggest of all of these, by orders of magnitude, is big pharma, big ag, and big healthcare, which RFK Jr. will be taking on. Musk is just beginning the audits of the Pentagon, the CIA, elements of the State Department, the Health and Human Services audits, and Homeland Security, which constitute the so-called interagency of the security state. Functionaries, a Praetorian Guard, as Steve Bannon says, which implement policy largely without any control by the American president. We need a tax and investment policy which puts people first. That means that Republican ideologues who want to attack Medicaid while rewarding Wall Street have to learn a new way of looking at the world, or we have to get rid of them. Most of all, we have to lift our population, skill them up, and make them healthy again. The defense sector, where Donald Trump is right now talking about huge cuts, is if we can work out peace deals and denuclearize with Russia and China, among other things. That defense sector holds almost all the highly skilled labor this country has as a reservoir upon which to draw as we train a new labor force. Will we convert swords to plowshares, or will we continue to waste this talent on killing people? None of this part of the battle is going to be easy. Walling off the berserkers permanently requires you, the heroic Americans who delivered a mandate on November 5th, to stay on the ramparts, to stay engaged, to stay learning. We have to ensure that the surgery is completed competently. More importantly, we have to really imagine the recovery and healing process, the future for ourselves and our children that we want to come out of all of this. It is a future like the founding of the unique American Republic, which has to be invented brand new. It is a mission which has to beat in your heart every day. Otherwise, the hard road ahead will seem impossibly difficult. The berserkers will regroup and possibly win. There will be suffering before the new dawn fully appears before us because of the mess the one-worlders have created. But think about the journey we have already been through since the very dark days of January 2021 forward. As the president says, there's nothing which is not possible so long as we continue to challenge our assumptions and think outside the box. Robert F. Kennedy once said, "Some men see things as they are and say, 'Why?' I see things that have never been and say, 'Why not?'" That's the mindset we need now. Susan will update you on Wednesday with the midweek brief. We'll cover this battle in numerous posts on the website this week. Please go over to Promethean Action and become a member. We need you to join the conversation. Like everyone else who's in this battle, we also need funding. Hopefully you'll become a member. Hopefully you'll contribute to this fight and keep us going. I'll see you again on Saturday. Thanks very, very much for listening.
Thanks for watching. Please take a moment and subscribe to our free newsletter at prometheanaction.com.